Hello everyone, my name is Corazar, and welcome back to the Vintage Story Guide. We are back in the world on this late August morning, and I am actually starting out today with a wolf sighting. No, a bear sighting. Look at you. Wow. Okay. You're just over there being all in charge. That's fine. But I'm starting today with a definitive plan in mind for the episode, which is nothing unusual. It's just that I have a much stronger structure / idea of what I want to do, and that is we need to go on an adventure. Because it's getting toward winter, and you may recall, if you watched the episode of our winter adventures, is that we actually went for a bit of a romp through the countryside in winter. And it was alright, but we got cold, it was slow because the snow slows you down, and we couldn't really see things like, I don't know, berry bushes as well. We couldn't just see things. It wasn't green. It was hard to make out features. And so I wanted to get in a little bit of an adventure before winter hits, and there is a specific place I want to go, and a certain thing I am looking for. And that is, I want to go down to our commodities trader, and I want to go in a bit of an adventure in a ring around him, and see if we can find some more traders. Reason being is that, one, while we have a decent treasure hunter trader not too far that way, it is directly through Baratory, and so it is a bit of a dangerous hike. The other reason is that we are still missing one last type of trader, and that is the Luxuries goods traders, and so I want to see if there happens to be one around this. Now, I don't know if I've gone over it before in this season, but traders are kind of easy to find once you know what you're looking for. Reason being is that they kind of tend to spawn with a certain distance between them. So we have a trader here, and we have a trader here, which means we could expect to find a trader down here. And we did, and I forgot to mark them. And there we go. So as you can see, there's a pretty normal distance between all three of these, right? And between these three, just about. This one's a bit farther, but not too much. And between these three. So as you can see, traders actually sort of appear in a pretty regular fashion. There's sort of like a radius around which most traders will tend to spawn. Now, it isn't perfect. You might not always find a trader at a location where one might spawn, because maybe in between these two and this one, there should be one here, but there's water here. So the game won't spawn one here in the middle of the water. So I want to go and find if we can find a better treasure hunter trader and a luxuries goods trader. I also want to try to unload our food vessels at our commodities trader. I guess I'll bring along some money too. And then, while we're out, you guys have absolutely inundated me with 20 questions, so I'm going to answer some of those. You know, I'm going to leave you here. You guys are not ready yet. So we are definitely not going to get another flax harvest in this season or this year, but we do have more growing down at the new house. So I'm bringing with us our usual complement of tools and a fresh knife and a fresh shovel, because this one's about dead, some extra food, along with our current pot of cooked food. I'm going to bring along a bed, like I keep forgetting to do. We have a bed. I have a basket on my back. There it is. And I think with that, we are pretty good to go. So, let's be off. And I almost forgot our armor. I survived a temporal storm just before the episode started. Yep, forgot that. Almost forgot that. Wow, that could have been bad. I also should mention that our local agriculture trader did happen to have some more redwood saplings in stock, 2 in fact, for only 6 gears apiece. So I bought both of them, and we have the new one, well, one of them planted here. We'll see if it grows nice and tall. You never know with these things. Okay, now I will see you on the other side of our translocator when we are prepped to go and talk to Jasper. Jasper, oh Jasper. What do you have for me today? Tell me you have gears for me for these cracked vessels. You want seed? And food. Oh, wait. Ore. Okay. Well, that's a shame. You're not selling anything I want right now. Oh, that's a great price for farming, too. Okay, well, I'm going to actually leave these here. No need to drag them with us. And yeah, I think with that, let's talk a bit about some exploration. Now, a couple episodes ago, we were exploring through a northerly translocator, and I mentioned a sort of cheaty trick you can do to open up the map a bit. And I'm going to show you how that works. I'm going to use it here. I probably won't use it again, but I wanted to show you how it works and just how good it is. So we're going to go into our menu here, and we'll go to Settings, and this is where you get to sort of twist the dials and knobs for your character's eyeballs. The default, I think, is actually 384 blocks. I play on 320 because it helps with recording and frame rate smoothness down here. But if you drag it all the way up, you can go all the way up to 1536. That's 1,500 blocks. So we're going to try it, and we're going to see what happens. This might go poorly. Now, in order to get it to actually generate the terrain, you do have to go back into the game. And you'll see that my frame rate is now, it's in the garbage. It's, what are we running at here? Yep, I am all over the place. Because a lot of things that don't really need to render because it's, you know, shrouded in fog, are being rendered, unfortunately. So it is really messing with my frame rate. But if we open our map, you will see that it is rather quickly filling in around us. Check that out. And it will keep going until it fully fills in all 1,500 blocks distant from us. And that's, see, we are at 4503, so this will go down to 6,000 blocks if we let it. I might stop it a bit prematurely, but if you have a really powerful computer that loves OpenGL applications, then this is a great way to really get a good view of the map. And what we can do here, even while it's generating, is we can start panning around the map and looking for other potential traders, or anything else in the map, really. If we wanted to look for, here we go. If we want to look for other, say, ruins, especially like the village ruins we found previously, then we could take a look around the map for that. Like, here's a trader here, so let's mark them. I spied a trader up in this area here. And that means, going by our calculations, that there ought to be another trader. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. That means there should be one up around in here, if one spawned here. And if they did, they might be kind of in this foresty area. They could be obscured by trees. So we should go check that out. Maybe. But yes, this is a great, if somewhat cheesy way to really open up your view of the map and get a good lay of the land. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time here letting this finish generating. I will scan around the map and see what we find. Like, here's some ruins here, just a single one. Oh, and hey, look, another trader. But yes, I will spend a bit of time doing that here while this finishes generating and while Jasper chats with me. He's got a lot of things to get off his mind, so don't mind him. And then I will see all of you in a few minutes when we are ready to set out on our adventure. And I will, of course, turn back the view so it's not so choppy at that point. I do think we're about done here generating, though. I'll see all of you in a little bit. Sorry, I had to do it. Alright, everyone, we are back. And it is time for us to go on our bit of adventure here. And we're going to start by going to the south. I found a few traders, 2 in a pretty straight line to the south. One over here, one up here, and one here. I haven't spotted anybody over here yet, but that could be because they're obscured by trees, such as one that should be showing up right about in here. There are some trees over here, so we may want to go over there and explore a bit. And then also, there were probably a couple like over here that should have shown up, but again, there's water. So there's one here, one here. There should be one about here, but that's in the middle of a lake, so it may just have not generated one. Or it could have put them under a tree over here. So we'll go to the south first. I think we'll probably stop by here on the way up to see if we can find anything over here, and then we'll just hit these 3 and come back. And with that, I'm going to head off, and in the meantime, I will hopefully entertain you with some of the answers to your questions. And boy, do I have 9 pages of answers for you guys, so I don't know if we'll get through them all today, but if not, don't worry, your question will still be on the list and will come up next time. So with that being said, let's be off. Okay folks, like I said, we have 9 pages of questions and answers to get through, so let's get right down to business. Our first question comes from Tanta Mimi. How do I change the weather in a region permanently? I want to change an area that's constant rain so that it only has rain a couple days each month. Sadly, I must be the bearer of bad news. Once a chunk has been generated in your world, while you can change the world's rainfall settings, that chunk will never be updated to the new rainfall amount. Since this also determines things like tree types that spawn, crops, fertility, and so on, only chunks generated after the change will have their rainfall value reflect the new setting. Lord Jar Jar 740 asks, would you ever consider playing Space Engineers again? I would love to play Space Engineers again. I haven't for a couple reasons though. One is simply that I don't have the time. Space Engineers is a very labor-intensive game, so it would need to supplant Vintage Story as the channel's main feature while I played it. The other reason is that I'm waiting for the game to become something more than just an engineering sandbox with silly physics. I would love to see Space Engineers add storyline features similar to, say, Star Sector. I've had a lot of fun with some of the scenarios, especially Escape from Mars, but for a full playthrough, I want to see story and NPC interaction in the game. Alright, Mystery Trader. You don't strike me as a luxuries goods, no, you are agriculture. Okay. We have Yearn, the agricultural supplier. So, same thing as we have back home. You are not of great interest to us, I am sorry. But we will change you to our usual agriculture trader colors. Okay, well, that's that, buddy. I hope to never see you again, sadly. Off we go. Well, 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 before we even get very far. A peach tree. Now, these are pretty interesting to me. I like the different kinds of trees. As we move farther south, we will find different kinds of trees. Now, we're not that far south, and peach trees aren't that terribly exotic, but if we were to go, say, 15, 20, or 25 kilometers south, we'd start finding things like mangoes and pomegranates and olives. And those trees won't actually survive up here, so, well, at least up where our house is. And this peach tree might not either. It's also pretty small. I don't want to cut the branches down just yet, but I will mark it, and we'll come back to it later. We might try to plant some of its saplings or some of its cuttings up by us, but I don't know that they'll do so well. Okay, now we move onward, for real this time. Giggling Sociopath is going for the triple threat straight to jail, do not pass go, do not collect $200. You are straight in comment jail, sir or madam, or anything in between or outside of that. Their first question is, are lupins your only favorite flower, and do you still have them planted in your yard? While lupins are probably my absolute top favorite flower, I do like others too. Some of my other favorites include hollyhocks, foxglove, bleeding hearts, columbine, and snapdragons. I don't have all these planted in my yard at the moment, but I would like to at some point. My lupins are doing pretty well this year, although I'm not sure I'll get many flowers. They self-seeded last year, so I have 3 smaller plants growing, in addition to the large one I photographed last year. I think the cold got to it though, because it's not as lush as it used to be. Giggling Sociopath's second question is there a question you want someone to ask? For the longest time, I was kind of waiting for someone to ask about my family life. Don Zakane finally did in the last 20 questions segment, so that cork has been popped. That was mostly a curiosity thing. I wanted to know how long it would take for someone to ask if I was married or had kids. Beyond that, it would be fun to talk about my other hobbies, especially writing more, but if that's not what people are interested in hearing, then that's totally fine. Their third question is, if you could visit any place on this planet or another one, with no ill consequences, where would you go? There are few places that I'm actually, dying to see. I think the hypothetical planet I would want to visit would be something far in the future that's been terraformed and settled by humanity. I'd want to go and see how we've progressed, if we've progressed, and how we terraformed the planet. Nashdi asks, how much script writing do you do for each episode? On average, not much. I typically plan each episode's themes and beats, but the only times I read from an actual script are episodes like this one, with 20 questions responses, or when I'm reading the in-game lore. Each episode usually gets about half a page to a page of bulleted notes and ideas, beginning with any prep I think I need to do before the episode, and then going into the episode's topics afterward. Wow, what a little place. This is a cute little clearing. Ooh. I hear the bear, but I don't see him. Okay, great. Hello, artisan trader. You are in a dangerous, dangerous place. I think so. Got anything to trade? Well, yep, just like other artisans, they carry tapestries and storage vessels in all kinds of colors that we can't make ourselves, and flower pots, and they'll buy gems and art supplies and clay and so on. That's great, but I'm going to build ourselves a little hovel here to stay safe from that bear. We're going to stay the night, as ill-advised as that may seem. Now, to keep bears out, bears are actually larger than one block, so they can't actually get to you. Even if they can sit on top of you, they can't get to you in places like this. As long as you don't jump up onto them, we should be pretty safe here. So, I'm going to pass the night, make it morning, and then we'll set out once again. Good morning, folks. It seems like our bear is once again a guardian of the lupins. However, I'm going to annoy him, or her, with some arrows, yeah. Because I kind of want to get over this direction. And now that we have shot an entire quiver full of arrows into this thing, it is time to, I swear I heard a second one. Maybe I didn't. Okay, that's fine. I did hear a second one. Oh my. Well, you were female brown bear. I want your hide and your fat and nothing else. Now that's a bit of a shame because there was something I wanted to look at around this way. Maybe we can go through the water first, or maybe... Yeah, let's go through the water. That'll just be a little bit easier. Yep, this is a suddenly thick area of forest, but what I wanted to bring your attention to, aside from the growling bears, is that we have here some red maple trees. These are Crimson King maple trees. And these are somewhat different maple trees. They function the same way, mostly, except that they don't drop their seeds as often, and they're very striking. They're great for decoration. If you can get a few seeds, I recommend it. They're really handy for just having a nice splash of red in your garden or your yard. And as I said, they don't drop their seeds very often. It's about half as often as the regular maples do, which means they can be hard to propagate. Heard that. I heard that. I think we're going to cut our losses on that one for now. Didn't get any seeds, but we will get a chance at some point. I think I've changed my trajectory here too, is we're actually going to swing around this way and head up here, because we're not really sure what's up here, and there's more territory up here, so I don't see a huge reason to go there. But if we swing around this way, we're probably going to find another trader right about here. So I think we can cut through a bit of the desert going on here and head through that way, and that way we can just kind of make a nice loop. Our loop will come up through here. We'll sort of split the difference between this sort of shrubby stuff and this forest and head up this way and over to this trader over here, and maybe even like around here instead, depending on where our trader lies. we can stop at this interesting thing here. Take a look at what that is. I'll pin you as well. And then from there we can swing north to this trader, and probably just mostly cut straight south, maybe just skipping this little woodsy spot here, and head back to our commodities trader. So, I think we should get going on that. I'm going to put a waypoint about here. We'll make it red, and very easy to spot. I will pin you. So, without further ado, let's be off. Honeymoon and G-Man 15 both asked very similar questions, so I put them together here, and there are two of them. Their first one is, what mechanic or other new block or feature would you like to see in Vintage Story? I've answered this before, but I'm going to answer it again because I've kind of fleshed out my idea a little bit more. The single biggest feature I want to see would be a vanilla means of copying blocks. My idea is to create a wind-powered lathe that lets you turn the blocks you copy them, turning being the term for how you process wood on a lathe. As an enhancement, I want to see a writing desk where you can store a chisel block as a blueprint and allow you to carry those blueprints across saves and servers, probably saved locally to your Vintage Story data folder somewhere. Their second question is, would you consider playing the game 7 Days to Die in the future as a guide series? That could be a fun adventure, though it is a bit bloodier than what's been featured on the channel up till now. I'm not sure I could do a guide series because I haven't played it since Alpha 12 or 13, and we're 8 or 9 versions ahead now, and as I understand, it's quite a different game than it used to be, but it could still be fun as a Let's Play. Flavio M has 2 questions, and they ask, is there any reason why you went with Copper Lamellar this season instead of Copper Brigandine, which you made in the last season? I did it for 2 main reasons. One is that I just wanted to do something different this season. The second, more logical reason is that I haven't actually made Lamellar before, and with the change in recipe, the Lamellar is actually a reasonable investment. In previous versions of the game, at least in 1.16 when we made the Brigandine, the Lamellar and Brigandine required about the same amount of ingots to craft. In fact, I'm pretty sure the Lamellar actually required an extra ingot. So from a material perspective, it was far more efficient to go with Brigandine. Now the difference isn't quite as pronounced, so the Lamellar makes sense, especially if you don't want to spend time smithing 13 plates without a helve hammer. Okay, folks, here we are at the top of a little hill to take a look around the landscape. And I took a peek, you may have seen on the map around here. I didn't spy any traders, which is kind of unusual. I would have figured there would have been... Oh, wait. Ah! Just hadn't uncovered them yet. Yep, so it's a bit... Actually, it's a perfect spot for them. It is right where they should have been. And let's get down there. Safely. And these heathy areas, I call them heath, but not really heath. That's more like a swampy thing, I think. But these sort of shrubby areas I really don't like. They're incredibly dangerous because of bears. Bears and wolves galore. I'm going to sneak up in here. Commodities. Alright, buddy. Hi. What do you got? Wort forage seed? No. I am not bringing anything by you. I am sorry, dude. I am so out of here. I am not killing more brown bears today. So, or I hope not, at least. Let's just pop up here. This seems relatively safe from bears at the moment. So, like I said, we are going to head up to here, probably by going through this field and just avoiding as much shrubbery and forestry as we can, and we'll hit this trader on our way up through here. Oh, but first, let's mark you as commodities. Okay, now we go. Flavio M's second question is, I'm struggling with the Pro Pick. Any tips so I don't run around looking for tiny scraps of copper? First, remember that the Pro Pick doesn't actually help you find surface copper and tin deposits, though it can find malachite, which generates close to the surface but isn't technically a surface ore. Use the density search mode to find areas that say decent, high, very high, or ultra high copper, and a number that's also above, say, 10 per meal. Then dig deep, And starting around Y75 or so, start using the Prospecting Pic's node search mode, and keep digging down and checking again until you find some, and if you don't, move about 16 blocks away and try again. I showed how to do this in episode 11 of both seasons actually. Something about that episode 11 in prospecting. So, if you need to see it in action, I recommend rewatching those. Oak Tree asks, do you look at any particular historic or fantasy building designs to help with inspiration for your own? I don't often specifically go seeking any particular designs, but while browsing the internet I do occasionally find inspiration. This season's main home build is actually inspired by a D&D map of Bag End that I found a while back on Reddit. And then, I went looking for hobbit hole ideas. I often find it hard to translate buildings, especially cool fantasy ones, into Vintage Story and other block games because they end up being uneconomical to build at full size, but when scaling them down they can end up looking blocky or awkward to actually live in and use. Tronic TG asks, what do you plan to do if Vintage Story stops getting updates? Do you think you would move to other games or continue playing Vintage Story? I think that would depend on the modding scene and whether modders are still actively creating new content. I would probably do one last guide season, although I probably wouldn't realize it was the last guide season unless Tyrant also announced it was the final version of Vintage Story. And then maybe backburner the game for a while. I probably wouldn't do any vanilla guides after that unless there was some development or realization that we've all been playing the game wrong. I could do some modded Let's Plays, but I think that in that unlikely timeline, we'd probably just have to find other games to play. Okay. Oh, what a sight for sore eyes and weary feet. Oh, and that sound. Oh, hello. Hello, clothing trader. I had a feeling you'd be nothing I really want. Hey, Oliver. You want to buy clothes and you want to sell clothes, and I do not want to do either. You can buy leather, which isn't too bad, but I have a couple of clothing traders much closer to home. Well, Oliver, I'd say it's great to meet you, but it's only so-so to meet you, really. And I have been hearing bears left and right. I'm sure you can't hear them as well on YouTube, also because I'm going to be speeding up the footage here as we travel from place to place. But yes, I am mostly hearing bears and then sort of going the opposite direction. The Noisy Bears mod is a big help in finding that, or stopping that, or avoiding them, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And yeah, I definitely recommend it. We're going to hit this, this ruin here. Let's be off. Alright folks, here we are. You see that over there? We have here a very special and rather rare ruin. This is the Ancient Pillar Ruin, made of, as you guessed, ancient pillars. Now there isn't a whole lot you can do with these ruins, aside from, as usual, tear them down and turn them into blocks for you to build with, as well as to dig out whatever's in their middle. There are a few I've seen that don't have a tool vessel in the middle, but assuming they do, you can get junk like flint, shovels, and axes. Wow. But no, the real treasure here is definitely the materials. These you can buy from the building materials traders, but they're kind of expensive. It's about a gold or a gear a piece. I don't know if you can get the stairs and the slabs. I think you can only get those from these blocks out in the wild. I'm gonna go ahead and dig this up, and then probably scoot a little farther away, or maybe even set up camp here, but we do need to think about passing the night. So I'll do that, and then I'll see all of you when we are on our way to our next location. Okay, we're done with that. I actually lied, because we're pretty close to our next trader, I hope. It's right up here in this little bit of desert, and we are just a, hopefully, hop, skip, and a jump away. So I'll meet you all there, and then we'll move on from that. Okay, that trip wasn't very long at all. It's nice to actually be out here in the open, rather than like in some woods. Actually don't hear any bears for once. Hello. And what? Ooh, you have a nice bed. Agriculture, once again. Okay. Well, nothing I really want from you. Boy, this is a turning out to be kind of like the first season, where it took us a long time. I think it was to find our Luxuries goods trader, I'm pretty sure. You live in a place where you'll go crazy, friend. You need to get out of here. Yeah, that's rough. There's a sandstorm too? Oh boy. Well, I'm going to wait out the night here, and then I'll see all of you in the morning as we are heading up to our final destination for this leg of the journey. And then we'll head back through our translocator home. We'll drop our things off. And then I think it hasn't been too long. We will head, oops, if I can get it right here. We will go through this translocator, and we'll kind of do the same thing here. We're not going to do the spread our view around with the cheaty increasing of our view radius. We will just kind of go in a large circle, probably around like here, around this particular trader, and see what we find. See you all in the morning. Good morning, everyone else. Goodbye, Bounder. It is time for us to continue our journey. I have found a couple stops for us along the way. There are some ruins here and here I want to check out. But aside from that, we will make it up to this trader, who is probably not a Luxuries goods trader, just judging by the color of their wagon. They tend to be made of acacia, so they're kind of red. Not always, but usually. So I think it's time for us to get going. Leon Oliveira asks, do you have any plans for Vintage Stories Guide Season 3 yet? Would you consider doing a modded playthrough for Season 3? I haven't put much thought into a Season 3 just yet. Since, according to Tyron, version 1.19 is going to be another performance and dejank update, Season 2 will probably carry us into and through 1.19 whenever it comes out. I do, however, think that at some point in the future, I'd like to do a guide season where we start in a warm or hot climate rather than temperate, just for a change of pace. When and if I do a modded playthrough, it won't be in the guide format of me explaining how to use something, since I'll probably be learning the ropes of all the mods as I go. In that case, it would be more of a let's explore together modded let's play. The other reason I don't like the idea of doing a guide on a modded series is that, one, mods break sometimes, and I'm not comfortable relying on mods that may or may not decide to stop working one day. On top of that, anyone using the series as an actual guide would have to have all of the same mods installed, and there would certainly be some number of viewers who aren't familiar enough with the game to realize they would need to install the mods, even if I put the word modded in the title. Daz184 asks, I'm not North American and have trouble placing accents. What accent do you have? I don't have an accent. You have an accent. Okay, just kidding. I live somewhere in the northeast quadrant of the US. I won't tell you exactly where I live, but I can tell you I'm not from Boston or New Jersey, and I say water and not wooder. Our next question is from Unknow or Unnow, and they ask, what build from the first season of the Vintage Story Guide are you most proud of? Easy. That would be the estate on Lupine Ridge. The house with the tower and the bridge. We spent like a quarter of the first season working on the house, from the exterior and the detailing, to all the functional bits, to the decorations, including a cobweb-filled attic. I had a vision of that build long before I even decided to start making videos, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to top that as a build, at least in my mind. I might take on more technically challenging builds in the future, but that one will always be first in my heart, I think. Ask me again next season. Lewis Austin asks, do you know how to play any musical instruments? Are there any you would like to learn to play? I used to play the piano. I played for a number of years through middle and high school, but at the time I hadn't really developed my ear for music. I can still play a few pieces that I know by heart and could sheet read my way through most of the rest, but slowly. At one point I wanted to try the violin and bought a decent beginner instrument from a local luthier. I spent a few months trying to teach myself and had a couple friends who played give me a few lessons, but I have trouble with it due to how close to the end of my fingers that my fingernails grow, so I ended up putting it down. I still think the violin is the one that I want to learn the most, but I'm probably better suited to flamenco guitar. Garrett McGill asks, do you have a favorite from the Vintage Story OST? Absolutely. Daylight is my favorite, hands down. I get the tune stuck in my head, and sometimes it comes out of my head. Then my wife tells me to stop whistling that song for once in your life. Alright folks, we made it here. I really like this area, minus the rain. It is just about as common as it is at home, though. But this would be, again, a cool place to live. One, because it doesn't have any bears, no trees for them to hide behind. Yes, this would be a neat place, but we are not here to colonize. We are here to trade. And what are you? A survival goods trader. Okay, I mean, that's not bad. I will never come out here to trade with you. So, that's not going to be an issue, I guess. You'll sell us halite for an exorbitant sum. Wonderful. Thank you. Well, it is time for us then to hightail it home. I am probably going to stop by one of these Red King maples here, like this one maybe. There shouldn't be many bears in these islands. And see if I can get at least one seed. So I'm going to go ahead and, well, oops, we'll unpin you, leave you black. Turn you into survival goods. So we're going to stop by this spot here. Do that and we'll pin you. And then we will swing back around here and get home. So with that, I think it's time for us to set out on this journey again. This has been one of discovery and some actual goodies, which is not too shabby in my book. So let's see, the best way to get there is going to be probably back the way we came and then swim. So I think we'll just do that. It is probably the safest bet. Alright, let's get going. Sam Soto asks, would you recommend Vintage Story to players of the other block game if they're getting bored there? 100%. With the caveat that I understand it's not for everyone. No game is. But for the seasoned block game player who wants a game that requires some effort to learn, but rewards him for that effort, yes. And I've converted several of my real-life friends to Vintage Story after years and years together in the other block game. Atonic X asks, what is the most advanced technology you would like to see the player get access to in Vintage Story? I think I'm pretty happy with Tyron's goal of the early industrial period type of stuff, with some fantasy steampunk things and magic thrown into the mix. I also really like that while we're starting to get the ability to recreate some of the ancient wonders of the past, they're work intensive. I don't want to get to a point where players can churn out their own static translocators, so I think making even one should take multiple hours of work, and it shouldn't be the kind of thing that can be automated or made easier, if player-made static translocators are even on the menu in vanilla Vintage Story. Dennis Garby asks, what kind of game do you want to see Vintage Story evolve into as it gets further into development and toward completion? Personally, I'm happy to see it turn into the game that Tyron has described in the roadmap. It looks like the end goal is to become a steampunk-ish block game with role-playing and story elements, and I am totally down with that. I would love to be able to have meaningful interactions with NPCs, not just idle chit-chat and do you have wares? Decaf Sax Guy asks, how long do you intend to keep on with the 1.18 guide series, provided there aren't any huge world-shattering changes in the upcoming updates? The plan is to keep going with the series until I run out of new blocks, systems, and adventures to talk about. After that, the series may change into a building-focused Let's Play similar to the first season, or if by that time I've said everything that needs to be said about Vintage Story in 1.18 or 1.19 or whatever, it might just be time to start something new, whether that is a totally different game or a different Vintage Story experience. Our next question is from, and I'm going to butcher this, but Jazamon Mileniatis. Did you ever find Vintage Story to be a scary game? I have 130 hours, and some of the sounds and monsters are still creepy. Oh, there are still things that make my skin crawl. I'm a very cautious player in general because I don't want to be jump scared by a drifter or sawblade locust, or wolf or bear. A lot of people marvel at how, quote, calm I seem when things jump out at me, but the secret sauce is that since I'm talking and narrating what's going on, my brain is just too distracted to be surprised or scared, so I react far more calmly than I would if I was just playing alone. That being said, when I first started playing the game, I definitely cowered in my bedroom during temporal storms, and jumped every time I heard the weird bleeping drifter noises. Well, as you can see, we got 0 seeds from that, so bit of a shame, but that is just how it goes with these red maples. Let's get back home. Captain 92 Morgan asks, what do you think about an optional tool hardening mechanic, where quenching a tool would give it more durability? Personally, I could take it or leave it. Assuming the game would continue to try to be realistic, quenching should actually only be done on ferrous metals and alloys, in our case, iron and steel. Quenching copper and bronze alloys in real life is called annealing, and this actually makes them softer, not harder. If we really wanted to be realistic about our metal tools, we would quench our iron and steel tools, but we'd let our copper and bronze tools cool slowly and then beat them with a hammer to strengthen them. And yes, this actually makes them stronger. On top of that, we really shouldn't need to heat our copper. Redsmithing can be done with cold metal, especially if it's been annealed. Moogie is the best Kaon asks, what do you think of the terrain generation in 1.18? I don't find the terrain generation to be all that different from 1.17 if you use the default settings. There are a few more rolling hills, but the new terrain generation didn't replace the original terrain. It exists alongside the permanent noise generation that has been in the game since at least I started playing, so I really don't notice a whole lot of difference. It's just as spiky as it was before, just that sometimes those spikes shot out from a slope rather than a flat plane. As far as the oceans go, I think they're neat, but they don't seem like they're quite ready for prime time yet. I am, however, excited to see where this all goes. Sir Guapo47 asks, will you ever do a challenge series, like a hunter-gatherer series where you forbid yourself from farming? I might do some kind of challenge series when and if there's a lull in meaningful development, but the trouble I found with challenge runs is that as gamers, we kind of have a tendency to optimize our way out of those challenges. For example, I once did a Never Buy Seeds challenge run in Stardew Valley, and it ended up being my most productive playthrough ever, because I engineered my way around the challenge to the point it was no longer a challenge. Alright everyone, here we are approaching home, and I think what we're going to do is, since I have been adventuring for quite a while, I'm going to go and answer your questions and put them in the video, and we'll wrap it here. And next time I think we'll go down through our translocator that takes us directly south. And we will continue our adventure, and I will continue answering your 20 questions in the next episode, because I think we still have a lot of ground to cover. And I'm going to put our things in this trunk here, and then after next episode we will then review everything we found and tally up all of our gains. Anyway everyone, I hope you enjoyed the episode and our adventures through our TL to the southeast, and I hope you enjoyed the answers to your questions, or at least some of them. I don't know how many we'll get through today. Regardless, I have a feeling that we're going to have more questions to answer, so we'll do some more in the next episode, and hopefully finish up answering your questions as we adventure through our TL to the south. Well everyone, as always, my name has been Corazar. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.